Okay, well, I'd like to start by saying, of course, good morning, and to thank the organizers at Lineage and the Reeve Foundation for inviting me here to share with you a little bit about the California Institute for Regenerative Medicine and what we do. I am actually not a neuroscientist. My background is in regenerative medicine. I've been in the space both in cell therapy and gene therapy since about 2001. I do have some experience as a caregiver, and I consider myself a little bit of a patient advocate from navigating that experience. So I'm very interested in, working in the service of patients, and also making sure that we include as many California patients in our CIRM efforts. So one of the things that I do for the therapeutics team, of which I'm a member, is that I'm the internal DEI lead for that, and I'll talk a little bit about our diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. So this is our mission statement, so accelerating world-class science to deliver transformative regenerative medicine treatments in an equitable manner to a diverse Californian world. And I hope that's going to make sense with the slides that follow. For those of you who haven't lived in California since 2004, we were formed by the passage of Proposition 71. That created a $3 billion bond fund to support stem and progenitor cell research in the state. And that was passed thanks to the tireless efforts of a number of patient advocates, some of whom are likely in this very room. And we are a patient-centric funder. We work very hard to bring the patient perspective into everything we do. We also work to support our CIRM partnered teams to do our best to be sure that you can be successful. And we were refunded during the pandemic, thanks again to the voters of California, with the passage of Proposition 14 that brought gene therapy into our mandate in addition to stem and progenitor cell therapy, and that created another $5.5 billion in funding. Just a little bit of snapshot of what we've done. I mentioned our history and our refunding. Oh, I do want to touch upon, we have a $1.5 billion set aside to address indications of the central nervous system. So if you are interested in applying for CIRM funding, come see me. We're very happy to help you navigate the application process. We funded over 1,000 projects. As of the time that this slide was made, we'd funded 86 clinical trials. That is above 90 now. And a lot of our projects have attracted additional industry funding. And I do want to just briefly say that I'll make up a little bit of time with this talk because I only have 15 minutes worth of slides, so we're going to be back on schedule in a hot minute. So one thing I do want to mention is that, we do have the $1.5 billion set aside for CNS indications, but you can see here, this is just sort of a little pie chart of the indications that we've supported for clinical trials, and you can see that we're a disease agnostic funder. So I just want to touch upon that. We work in a lot of different areas. This is our total commitment that we've made to spinal cord injury research since CIRM's inception. So we have granted just about $100 million. We're happy to continue supporting the space. I do want to mention that we have supported only 2 clinical trials so far in spinal cord injury, and those trials, one award was given that was actually returned to CIRM, and we re-granted the award to the new owner of the asset, which is Lineage. This is the OPC therapy, and we're very excited about that and happy to continue to see that work unfold. I was at Geron when that work began with the hard work of, I see Ed Worth, and Linda is not here today, but many of the people that worked on that early clinical trial are here today, and we're very supportive of seeing more work in the space. And with that, I want to just mention our two ongoing programs in spinal cord injury. These are both preclinical stage programs, and they're both using neural stem cell approaches, but they're going after slightly different indications, and they are different neural stem cell populations. But I just quickly want to introduce this preclinical work being pursued by Mark Tuzinski here at UCSD, just down the road. This is an effort to create a neural relay to bridge the spinal cord injury and let the signals cross through. This award is intended to support all the preparation of process development, assay development, early toxicity, biodistribution studies that are required to get you ready for your first regulatory interaction, and that's the pre-IND meeting, or, well, I should say investigational new drug application is the thing that you get approved so you can start a clinical trial. So this is just a couple steps before that. So this is one of our translational programs. The other is led by Dr. Eileen Anderson up the road at UCI, and she's developing a neural stem cell therapy for chronic cervical spinal cord injury, and similar activities being pursued as Dr. Tuzinski's. In her case, this is a therapeutic that seems to achieve its regenerative effects in preclinical models through myelination. So a little bit different goals, even though these are both neural stem cells, they seem to behave a bit differently. I'd like to just go over our pipeline funding opportunities. These are really our core opportunities, and we've set up this pipeline with the intent of taking your project from an idea or hypothesis to a development candidate, through preclinical studies, to beginning to optimize your process, getting ready to enter the regulatory space, all the way through pivotal trials. And just briefly, I apologize, I'm going to start with the candidate, and then I'm going to go back to the mechanistic research. But I wanted to just touch upon Discovery 2. This is our workhorse discovery program intended to take, I have an idea, this looks like it could be a therapy, and there's some activity in a preclinical model. And under that discovery program, we can support things like, getting robust, reproducible proof of concept in relevant preclinical models. We want you by the end of the award to have like a research process. You know you can make it. You know what the candidate should look like through your assays that you develop. And from there, you're ready to move to translation. So once you've nominated that candidate, you think it works, you know what it looks like, you know how to make it, then you're ready for translational. And these are just sort of the funding limits. I should mention that we don't only fund therapeutics, we also fund, tools, diagnostics, and devices, and this is sort of the size of the awards. It's a 3-year therapeutic award, and the others are 2 years. This is our sort of basic mechanistic program. It's called DISC 0. Affectionately, internally, we sometimes like to say disco, just because the zero there is just, you just can't resist. But so we're very excited to have another mechanistic program in our portfolio. So this is, where you take either your brilliant idea or you're trying to address a knowledge gap or some disease mechanism. These are $1 million 3-year awards. And now we're moving into translation. So this is a program that's kind of unique to CIRM. We're really interested in getting you through that valley of death. You've got a great publication in Nature, and how do you get to the clinic? So our translational program is a perfect opportunity to do things like optimize your manufacturing process, Just really take your time, get any xenobiotics out of the process. Go ahead and make sure you have a robust supply chain. Look at initial safety of your therapeutic approach, maybe biodistribution, and get really well prepared for that pre-IND meeting. And these are 30-month awards for therapeutics. The budgets are shown here. They're, I believe, 2-year awards for the other platforms. And then finally, once you have your pre-IND completed, you're ready to come into clinical. And clinical is unique in that we offer these programs every single month. So we want to be ready for your program when your program is ready. And another thing that's unique about clinical, we're a California state funding agency. However, we can fund applicants wherever they are in our clinical program for any work that you do in the state. So if you're conducting, say, a multi-center clinical trial, CIRM can support the California sites. If you're doing your IND-enabling studies and that work is taking place in the state, that's CIRM eligible, as would be your manufacturing. So I just want to point out that this is an opportunity that you may not have been aware of. And again, we can support gene therapies, stem and progenitor cell therapies, and biologics and small molecules that achieve their mechanism of action through stem or progenitor cell therapies. So those are the kind of things that we can do. And if, as noted up here, we move pretty fast. So we offer these every month. And if you have a successful application, it's 90 days from submission to availability of funds, because our mission is urgent and we want to get therapies out there to patients. I do want to talk about, I mentioned diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is really important to CIRM and to our board. We are a state agency, and we want to make sure that patients throughout the state of California have access to their CIRM investment. So I live between UCSF and Stanford. That's awesome. That's not enough. We want people that live in the valley to have access to what we do. We want people of different socioeconomic backgrounds to have access to our clinical trials. We want our therapies to be developed with a diversity of patients in mind. So DEI is part of everything that we do. And so one of the things that we look for is, we want, I see the timer's still ticking away, sorry. We like to see that our teams are aware of cultural competency, cultural sensitivity, how to interact with different groups. We really want to see active outreach for our clinical trials to reach, multiple populations. DEI is not just about race. I want to say that. There are a lot of different ways. My husband was his first in college in his family. He had no clue how to navigate this. So I did just want to mention that. And in order to get funded by CIRM, you do need to have a DEI score that's passable. And we have a rubric. And if you're working on a CIRM application, you need help with that, please come and see us. We're happy to support you. So I want to just briefly touch upon some of the resources that we bring to our awards. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but one that we're the most proud of is our advisory panels. And these are convened for our translational awards and our clinical awards. And each one of these panels consists of the CIRM partnered team, members of the CIRM team, most predominantly representatives from our alpha clinics that I'll touch upon later, and our therapeutics development team that manages these awards. And for every one of these teams, we will identify a science advisor that's specifically selected to complement the expertise of the team. This is not a project review. This is a, how can we help you? What can we bring to the project to help it succeed? And another critical piece of all of our advisory panels is the patient representative. And we just heard some patient perspectives from Jake and Jared. We very much value that, and we want to make sure that that is heard in the development of the clinical protocol, and just making sure that participation isn't overly burdensome, that things are set up in a way that works for patients. So I do just want to mention that. So these are our advisory panels that we hope that most people really enjoy them, and they're intended to support the team. One more that I want to touch upon is really kind of a jewel in the crown of CIRM. I think that's our Alpha Clinics network. And these are all throughout the state at major medical centers that all have expertise in the administration of stem cell and gene therapies. Not something we're discussing today, but for example, CAR T. You need to really have a specific infrastructure set up to take care of patients after they receive CAR Ts. Similarly, you know, some of the other trials that we do need specialized patient care, you know, MRI access, all of these resources, including patient navigators and outreach infrastructure to help you with your community outreach. These are all at our Alpha clinics, and we did just add 3 more. We're very happy to say at Stanford, Cedars, and USC. You do not need to be a CIRM-funded investigator to participate at our Alpha clinics and use the resources that are there. So those are open to everyone, of course. One more thing that I'm very excited about that is in development is our community care centers of excellence, and these are going to be not you know, restricted to those major coastal centers, but hopefully, you know, covering more of the state and working sort of in the community to further link up our clinical and care delivery infrastructure. And that was really the last slide that I was going to bring up. This is something that's still in development, so I'm going to go ahead and skip this until it's launched. But yeah, I just want to thank everyone for listening. And you know, you can find us at this nifty little QR code. Please feel free to reach out. We're here to help you navigate our processes. And it's been a real pleasure and a treat to be here, so thank you.